it's Stacy Brown Randall with Straight Talk on Business Growth, and welcome back. I am so glad to see you here for episode 5. Now, I know some of you may be thinking if you watched episode 3 and episode 4, you had a little bit of like, that was a lot on my brain, right? This one will be a little bit easier. It's just some basic understanding I need you to have as we start talking about referrals. And I'm going to put this in context in just a minute, but I want you to know there's a basic understanding of what I like to call a knowledge foundation we have to have so that anything I'm going to teach you in the future actually makes sense, and then you don't misapply it. Because I have seen that when I just kind of like jump into teaching it, sometimes I'm like, oh wait, they're missing a major knowledge piece that allows them to apply what I want to teach them in the right way. So we're going to just back up a little bit as well and kind of talk about this in the perspective of what do you need to know when it comes to start building out your referral plan. There's some basic mindset knowledge stuff we have to know. We're going to do that with episode 5 and episode 6, and then build on that as we kind of move forward as well. So as we dive in today, I first just want to give a quick shout out to the host of Straight Talk on Business Growth. This is not possible without WYTV7, and that's the Christians Broadcasters Network. So I've mentioned this before, but I do think it's really cool that I have an opportunity to come on and share the knowledge that I have around growing a business and running a business and overcoming a business failure, and then how do you grow that business from referrals that you never have to ask for. I think it's really cool that I have an opportunity to come on and share that information, but also share it as how my faith interacts and intertwines with my story, and of course is everything as to why I'm able to accomplish anything that I'm able to accomplish too, is because God is certainly making sure that he is helping me reflect him in all that he gives me and allows me to do. And of course, forgives me when I don't reflect Christ in all that I am doing, because the Lord knows I am human just like everybody else. But it's really cool to be able to talk about what I know really well, business growth, but then also be able to intertwine my faith in it and how I see those intersect. Because if you follow my other podcast or read my book, or you're on my Facebook lives, or maybe you are reading the articles on my website, or you see the articles that have been published like in Forbes and Entrepreneur Magazine and Investors Business Daily, you're not going to get a real taste of that, unfortunately. I certainly don't hide the fact that I'm a Christian, but I also usually just talk business. But business so much depends on everything that we are able to do because the Lord allows us to. And so I love this platform. So just wanted to give another little shout out to WYTV7, the Christians Broadcasters Network, to say thank you for giving us this platform. And I don't know if you know this, but the WYTV7 is a nonprofit, so they run off of donations, and we are here, all of the broadcasters are here to show up and share our message and reach more people and invite more people in to our community. But we do this on a platform that runs completely on your donation. So if you believe in the message, if you believe in what you're learning, if you're getting value from Straight Talk on Business Growth, please would you consider joining in and just giving a donation. Whether it's a small amount or a large amount, no donation is too small. Just go to WYTV7.org and you can support all of the broadcasters, not just me, but you can support all the broadcasters on this network. So I'm loving having the platform. I make donations, so I hope that you will join me as well and make your donation today. That would be such a wonderful thing to do. And of course, it's one of those wonderful ways that we get to pay it forward and share what we know about God and Jesus and of course the gospel, and share it forward with others who may not know, or sometimes, like myself, need to be a little bit reminded. So thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to you guys today about Straight Talk on Business Growth. We are diving in to what is a referral. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, I already know, and that is awesome. But I want to ask you to consider just being open to the idea that maybe you don't, or maybe you know only part of it and not all of it. So now next week, when we dig into episode 6, I'm going to really kind of dig in to truly making sure, I'm going to talk about it some today too, defining what a referral is, but I'm going to dig into like the cast of characters in the referral process, and I'm going to dig into understanding where can you get referrals from, what are the 4 main sources of where we can get referrals. So I'm going to dig into that piece of referrals next week with episode 6. But for this episode, what I'm going to spend some time on is just really making sure we understand what a referral is and what it isn't. And then how I'm going to be able to describe to you what it is and what it isn't is in comparison to other sales lingo terms that I see people use interchangeably with referrals. And they're all very, very different, and they all have a different definition. So we're going to talk through what that looks like, because again, like I mentioned, we need to have some basic knowledge, a foundation of some basic knowledge, so that when I say referral in a future episode, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Now, when you ask people, ask any business owner, ask yourself, what is the best way to bring in a new client? The number one thing they're going to tell you is to have them referred. If they've ever received a referral or heard other business owners talk about receiving referrals, right, they're going to have that moment where they think to themselves, I want some of that. Or when they received a referral, they're like, that was amazing. Because you feel like you haven't done any work to actually receive that referral. You have done work. You just don't recognize it as work, which is what makes referrals so really cool. So this idea of thinking the holy grail of how we can grow our business is by referral. Now, we talked about in episode 3, we've got those activities in our prospecting plan, the activities in our marketing plan. Keep working what's working. But I want you to shift your focus to understanding what you need to do and know to actually have a referral plan that's bringing in prospects to your business that complements or overshadows your marketing and your prospecting activities. We're going to talk about some referral activities. But to first understand what is a referral and what it isn't, so you don't use the wrong sales terms or lead generation terms interchangeably, because they're not. They're very, very separate. So I'm actually going to talk about 5 different terms in terms of the type of prospect. So there's what we call a cold lead. Now, most people know what a cold lead is. It's because it comes from you doing some type of cold activity. You make a cold call to a company who doesn't know you, right? Well, if they answer the phone and they agree to talk to you, that becomes a cold lead. The source of that was a cold call, which makes it a cold lead. Then there are warm leads. Warm leads are where sometimes typically somebody said, hey, you definitely need to call them, and you can even use my name, right? Or maybe you've met them at a networking event and you have had a couple of conversations with them so that when you go to call them, they know who you are. But the lead itself is not cold, it's now warm. Now, a lot of people think, okay, cold leads, that's pretty self-explanatory. Warm leads, well, anything's a warm lead. They're not. A referral is actually not a warm lead, nor is an introduction or word of mouth buzz. Just for a minute, I want you to think about this from the perspective of those are 5 different types of prospects. Now, cold lead, warm lead, introduction, word of mouth buzz, and referral. 5 different types of prospects. So let me answer the question you're probably thinking right now before I dive into actually defining those 5 terms for you. Is that idea behind the reason why it matters to know is because how you approach that prospect. So when that prospect comes into your business and they're a cold lead, the sales conversation you have with them is different than the sales conversation you're going to have with somebody who's been referred to you. You don't have to do the same dog and pony show when they've been referred to you that you have to do maybe when they're a cold lead or even a warm lead. So the idea of understanding these 5 different terms is knowing the reason why it matters is because when you walk into a first meeting, whether it's a phone call or an in-person meeting, and you walk into a meeting with someone who's just been introduced to you or has just been as a warm lead for your business, or is coming through word of mouth buzz, or is coming through a cold lead, or is coming through a referral, what you say, how you handle that sales meeting is different. Most people don't think about that. They think about, I have a sales plan or a strategy or script or whatever it is, an agenda, a flow that I follow. And I teach, if you want to close more people that come into your business, you need to know who's sitting across the table from you or on the other end of the phone, because you need to approach them based on where they are in the process. and somebody referred to you is so much further along in the decision-making process than somebody who happens to be a cold lead who's actually still very skeptical. And in some cases, they're wondering why they answered the phone from your cold call and even having a conversation with you, right? Doesn't happen all the time, but let's be honest, we all know it happens. So the important piece to understand here is these are 5 different sales terms. They're all prospects. It's just the type of lead that they are. Are they a cold lead, a warm lead? Are they an introduction, word of mouth buzz, or a referral? So cold lead is the easiest to understand, and I've kind of already explained it a little bit. The cold lead, of course, is somebody who becomes a lead for your business completely cold, right? You don't know them, and they don't know you, and maybe you cold emailed them, maybe you cold called them, and for whatever reason they responded and they were willing to have a sales conversation with you about your product or service. So that's a cold lead. A warm lead could be somebody you've known for a while, but you've never had a sales conversation with them about what you do and how you can help them, and so you're going to be having that conversation. It could also be a warm lead, could also be someone where somebody says, hey, Stacy, I know that this company needs your help. You should call Tom, right? Here's his number. Now, most people think that's actually a referral. It's not. It is a warm lead because we don't know if that company, that Tom at that company wants to hear from you, if their need, the pain they need solved, what they're buying, the solution you can provide them, if they even know they have a problem. And because you weren't connected to them, there's no transfer of trust. We don't know the backstory. Do they want to hear from us? Do they know they have a problem? Do they even like the person who told us to call them? Now, sometimes it's true and it will work, but a lot of times you just end up like a cold lead and you start the chasing game. So a cold lead is different, and now you understand how a warm lead is different. The next one I want to talk about is actually an introduction. This happens a lot in business. You get an email, right, from somebody you know, and they're connecting you to somebody else. And you're like, yes, I'm being connected to a prospect. I'm being connected to someone who's being referred to me, a referred prospect. But in that connection, all it talks about is how you two should know each other. Go grab coffee, grow your network, get to know each other. And in that moment, you think to yourself, wait, why am I being connected to this person? Is it because they need to buy something from me? It just wasn't said in the email. Or is it because they expect me to buy something from them and it wasn't said in the email? Or is it truly just an opportunity to be introduced and be connected to somebody new who should become a part of my network? All those are okay choices. There's not one right or wrong answer here in terms of an introduction. It's just not a referral. An introduction is just that. You're connected to somebody else, but you're not quite sure why. It could be just to grow your network because you guys need to know each other, or it could be because they actually know they need to buy from you, but you don't know that. So how you approach them, you may not approach them with the right mentality because you don't know where they stand. Because all that was done was that you were just connected or introduced to them, but there was no need identified. So that keeps it as an introduction. The next one I want to talk about is word of mouth buzz. Now, this is the one that feels so much like a referral, but it's not. Word of mouth buzz is where someone says, hey, Libby, were your ears burning last week? Because I was talking to a friend of mine who absolutely has to hire you. I gave them your contact information. They're going to reach out. And you're sitting there thinking to yourself, yes, I can't wait, right? This is going to be great. Stacy's referring me some people. And then you wait for the phone to ring. And sometimes it never rings. Most of the time it never rings. And most of the time the email inbox never receives an email, right, from that person. And it's not because they actually didn't want to potentially talk to you about hiring you. It's because they got busy and they forgot about the conversation that they had with Libby. And then they talked about you. And then they went on with the rest of their lives and they got busy. It's word of mouth buzz. Somebody's out there saying great things about you, but they're not connecting you to the people they're saying great things to, telling those people to hire you. Now, of course, if I'm having a conversation with someone and I'm like, hey, Libby, you definitely need to talk to this person. They can solve your problems. And if Libby's pain is great enough, she'll probably go call that person herself and she'll basically flip herself right into a referral. But a lot of times with word of mouth buzz, we're left knowing that somebody out there needs us. Somebody out there needs to hire us. But we don't know who it is. We're not in the driver's seat and having the ability to actually follow up. And that causes problems for us. Because if we don't know who it is, we can't do anything about it. And it just becomes, that's great. There's some good brand reputation building about me going on, but it's not actually turning anybody into a prospect. And that means I don't have a chance to turn them into a client. So now you can see how cold lead, warm lead, word of mouth buzz, and introductions are different from a referral. Let's talk about what a referral is, and let me truly define it for you so you can put it into context of how it's different from those other 4 sales terms. And remember, I think it's important that you know these sales terms, because when you are faced with a prospect that is cold or warm lead or word of mouth buzz and introduction, that you know how to respond, so that you understand how you should have a conversation with them and what that looks like, right? That is why I want you to know, right, the difference between these sales terms. And what I find is people use them interchangeably. We've got word of mouth, right, referrals. We've got referral marketing from introductions. Like, I see these terms and they're all just kind of used interchangeably, and they're not. They are 5 different types of prospects. And knowing how different they are lets you know how you're going to approach them, and then how you're going to get them to actually say yes to working with you. Because how I approach someone who comes to me cold is totally different from how I approach someone referred to me. So let's talk about referral. Let's talk about how a referral is different from word of mouth buzz, introduction, warm lead, and a cold lead. A referral has 2 things those other 4 terms do not have. Number 1, there is always a personal connection. And number 2, there's always a need identified. Super important that both of those are present for it to be a referral. Now, if you'll remember, in an introduction, I was connected over email to somebody, but there was no need identified. And in word of mouth buzz, somebody was talking about somebody else needing to hire me. So there was a need identified, but I wasn't connected to them. And cold lead, of course, we don't know if they have a problem, and they don't even know us. So there's no connection and no need identified. And with a warm lead, we're not sure if either of those 2 things exist. We know there's no connection because they didn't connect us. They just said, hey, you call. Here's their name and number. And we don't know if there's a need. So when one or both, connection or need identified, is missing, it can't be a referral, which is why there are cold leads, warm leads, word of mouth buzz, and introductions. A referral, on the other hand, there is a personal connection. There is a referral source who knows someone who has a problem, and they get to figure out, hey, I know how to help you solve your problem. I'm going to refer you to Stacy. And so they connect Stacy, referral source, prospect. So we'll talk more about in depth and in detail what that relationship looks like as we're coming up in the next episode and a few after that. But it's important for you to understand from that perspective is that there is always a connection, mostly done over email. It can be done over a group text thread, and sometimes done in person if all the parties happen to be present at some networking event or charity event, right? Or some barbecue, backyard barbecue get together. But 9 times out of 10, it's going to happen over email. So the referral source is going to send an email to the prospect and copy you as a solution provider and say, hey, I was talking to Sam. Sam's copied on this email, and they need to talk to you because we've identified Sam has this problem. So there's always the personal connection, and there's always a need identified. Just like my language said, I was talking to Sam, he's got this problem, she's got this problem, and they need to talk to you to solve it. So referral has both. There is, of course, first, a personal connection, and 2, a need identified. And this is important for 2 reasons. 1, the personal connection reminds the prospect, oh, that's right, I do trust Stacy, because Sam referred her to me. Because when Sam sends the email, we never forget Sam was involved because he's right there on the email thread. So when Sam refers Stacy, it makes, right, whoever I was referred to say, that's right, I trust Sam, so I can trust Stacy. It strengthens that transfer of trust. The second thing that happens, it reminds Sam that, hey, you have identified you have a problem, and you must be willing to solve it because you're willing to be connected to someone who can help you solve it, which means the prospect is in the buyer mode. They're in that buyer mentality where they're thinking, I got this problem and now I want to solve it, so I'm willing to be connected with somebody who may be able to solve it. It's that idea of they're connected and they're ready to do something about it. Need identified and personal connection. Those two things have to be present for that lead, that prospect, to be a referral. If not, it is either word of mouth buzz, introduction, warm lead, or a cold lead. So we now know, looking at what a referral is, you can understand when someone's been connected to you and they're in buyer mode, of course your sales conversation, that first meeting dialogue you're going to have with them in that first meeting, of course it looks different than when you're meeting with someone for the first time because they happen to answer your cold call. The sales strategy, the sales outline, the flow, the conversation you're going to have, right? It's the script you're going to follow. It's completely different. And I'll be honest, sitting down with somebody who's been referred to you, way easier to close. That's why referrals are quicker to close, right? Less price sensitive. Right? And they already trust you because they value you, because somebody else said you should trust, value, work with this person. Right? So it's that idea that they're quicker to close, easier to close, less price sensitive, and they already show up trusting you on some level. It's really important you can identify and understand the knowledge piece behind what a referral is, so that when I start talking about how to get more of them, you understand, one, why it's so powerful, because it's like having ready-to-go clients dropped into your lap, because that'll then tell you whatever work I need to do to get more of those referrals, I should be willing to do, because I have a greater chance of closing them than I do somebody who happened to answer my cold call or respond to my cold email. So I want you to know why you receive, or if you're receiving a referral or not, because, right, there is ways for to flip non-referred clients or non-referred prospects into referrals. Word of mouth buzz, introduction, and warm lead can be flipped into a referral, meaning it'll be so much easier to close them. You can't really flip a cold lead into a referral. It doesn't work. But warm lead, word of mouth buzz, introduction can be flipped into a referral. In addition to that, you now know how to have a conversation with them to make the odds higher that you will close them into a new client. So again, I know that can be a lot of good information, but it's still a lot of information coming at you. Just make sure you understand a referral is personally connected to you and has a need identified. And that is what makes them a referral. Have to have those two pieces. Okay, don't worry. We're going to go even further with this with our next episode, episode number 6. And I'm going to start defining what it looks like in terms of those cast of characters. Like, let's really talk about that referred prospect and the referral source and you as a solution provider. And we'll also spend some time talking about the types of referral sources we can have, continuing to build on your knowledge so you can understand how to unleash a referral explosion in your business if you so choose. So again, make sure if you, and as you know, we are following along with the parts and the chapters of my book, Generating Business Referrals Without Asking. And every week I'm giving a copy away. You just have to engage with me. Just go to the show notes page for this episode, right? Make sure you're sending me an email, leaving a comment on the YouTube video, whatever it is, however you can engage, reach out to me. Email is sometimes the easiest, but I love comments on social media too. So make sure you're leaving a comment, and one person every week will be chosen, and they will win a copy of my book, Generating Business Referrals Without Asking, a simple 5-step plan to a referral explosion. And everything I've taught so far up through this episode, episode 5, is actually parts and pieces coming out of this book. Now, I'm giving a little bit more information here because I just can't help myself, and we're talking through things, but we are following along to what you're going to learn in this book. So I suggest you grab the book. Maybe you can win a free copy, or maybe you can, of course, purchase your own copy wherever books are sold. The retail price is $16.95. So I would love for you to win a copy. I'd also love for you to buy a copy. And remember, you can catch me here every Tuesday. I'll be next week. We'll have episode 6. We're going to keep digging forward, keep moving forward with understanding how we're going to generate referrals, more referrals, a referral explosion in our business. And again, remember, please show your support to WYTV7. Just go to WYTV7.org so you can leave a donation. It would be wonderful if you would consider making a donation to the Christian Broadcasters Network so they can keep actually allowing folks like me and the other broadcasters to share our messages in this way and on this platform. So again, thank you so much for joining me with this episode, and I look forward to seeing you with our next episode. Bye for now.